All right. Good afternoon, good evening. I believe it may be evening right now, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. Our presentation is titled Predicting Employee Turnover, a Prediction Model. This work is the result of a group effort by myself and my teammates who will introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Ramneet Brar.
Hi there. My name is Cedric Brooks, known as Brother Brooks.
Yes, and so for our Management 6120 course, under the guidance of Professor Sun Pak, our goal is to explore the psychological and organizational factors that contribute to employee turnover and to present a predictive model using data-driven methods. Let's begin with an overview of what we'll cover today. So today we will have a brief introduction to employee turnover and our project's objective. Next, we'll discuss the literature review, which summarizes the key theories and prior research. We'll then walk through our methodology, including survey design, data collection, and data processing. After that, we'll review analysis results and explain the predictive model we developed. We'll interpret these findings, explore these implications, and propose targeted interventions. Finally, we'll wrap up with our conclusion and recommendations for future work. Feel free to jot down a few questions and come along with us. We'll have time to discuss these questions at the end. So, our purpose is to use regression analysis to quantify how much each factor predict turnover intention. We ground our constructs in strategic HR theory, which references Mello, of course, 2018, ensuring that our approach is both evidence based and practical for organizations. Ultimately, the goal is to inform and enhance retention strategies by using a data driven approach, moving from intuition to actionable analytics. So, why is this important? Employee turnover remains one of the most pressing challenges for organizations. It costs time, money, and knowledge. If we can predict and intervene early, companies can retain talent and maintain productivity. Our theoretical model overview. So, for our literature review, this slide that you're looking at right now, it shows our hypothesized relationship, essentially how we think various factors influence turnover. We interrogate several constructs from organizational behavior to explain why employees may leave. These include job satisfaction, organizational commitment, managerial support, and work life balance. Our model is based on a blend of established theories and real world HR strategies, aiming to bridge the gap between academic understanding and workplace reality. So let's dive a little deeper into the research foundation for our work. We draw heavily from Mobley's 1977 turnover process, which highlights how dissatisfaction leads to job search and eventually turnover. We also included Herzenberg two-factor theory from 1966. Um, it is also key distinguishing between hygiene factors which prevent dissatisfaction and motivators which actually drive satisfaction. We emphasize psychological safety, which is Edmonds 1999, showing that trust, openness, and accountability are vital for retention. Our review also considers more recent synthesis of turnover research showing consistent evidence that job satisfaction and organizational commitment are central. These theories frame our survey and guide our analysis, ensuring we are capturing the most influential predictors of turnover, which leads us to our methodology. To test our hypothesis, we designed a 25 item survey covering 5 key domains, as I mentioned earlier, which is job satisfaction, organizational commitment, managerial support, work-life balance, turnover intention. Concerning our survey details, we utilized a 5-point Likert scale ranging from strongly disagree to strongly agree. We included both positive and negative worded items to reduce response bias. Participation was anonymous and volunteer only, to encourage honesty. Distribution was done through both digital platforms such as social media platforms. We also did Instagram. We use physical flyers just to maximize our reach. This mixed approach allows us to gather rich and reliable data. Um, this, what you're looking at right now, is the survey questionnaire that we actually utilized and was generated through 365 Forms platform. Our data collection and processing, which is mentioned on this slide. So here's how we collected our data. We used a mixed convenience and snowballing sampling method to reach our participants. Out of 149 responses, there was 128 were actually complete and we were able to use for this analysis. The rest were excluded to ensure data quality. Data cleaning involved checking for missing inconsistent responses, visualizing distributions, and reverse coding certain items. Quantitative analysis was performed using multiple regression, allowing us to examine how each predictor contributes to turnover intention while controlling for others. And so now we are going to talk about our data analysis, and I'm going to hand it over to Ramneet.
So let's talk about how the data was analyzed. We started with descriptive statistics to understand the basic trends in the data. We used multiple regression analysis to test our predictive model. The aim was to just have exact numbers and factors which are contributing to the turnover intention. Looking at the results, our regression model explained about 34% of the variance in turnover intention. You can see how the R-square, which is the raw variance, and the adjusted R-square, which is the actual variance, they differ. They differ, telling us that our predictors were useful, but the adjusted R-square gives us a more honest estimate of the effectiveness of our predictors, adjusting for the model complexity. On the right-hand side, we have a snip of the coefficients of all the 4 independent variables we used, and we also have included the p-values and the 95% incidence on the lower level, the statistical significance, and the interpretation of our variables. The model itself was statistically significant because the F calculated was 15.74 with a p-value of less than 0.01. With a value of less than 0.001, meaning the results are unlikely due to a chance. Looking at the summary, we will jump on to our next slide where we'll be talking about the predictive model and the formula we used. The predictive turnover intention score was calculated by calculating an intercept, which was 5.741, and then using the coefficients and the average scores of each construct variable. We calculated the predictive turnover intention with a value of 2.87, and we calculated the actual mean turnover intention score using the descriptive stats from the sample data, which was 2.88. The strong alignment shows that our model is accurately capturing the real-world patterns in the turnover intention, because the actual mean turnover intention and the predictive mean turnover intention, they are very, very close with just a decimal one difference. You can see that in the chart on the right hand side of our PowerPoint. We'll be looking at the other slides. Next, we'll be talking about the distribution of composite scores for the survey constructs. Here we see that the distribution of scores across the key survey constructs which we use, this visualization helps us understand the range, the clustering of job satisfaction, commitment, support, work-life balance within our sample. It also confirms that our data is suitable for regression and that we have enough variability to make variable and meaningful predictions. In the next slide, we'll be talking about the average scores between the turnover intention and our four predictor variables. The chart compares the average score for each construct. As you can see, we see that the turnover intention has the lowest mean score average of 2.88, while the job satisfaction and the organizational commitment score the highest, above almost 3.90. This supports our finding that improving the job satisfaction and working on the organizational commitment can significantly and effectively reduce the employee turnover. In the next slide, we are talking about the correlation metrics of our key survey constructs. The job satisfaction has a strong negative correlation of almost negative 0.551. The managerial support and work life balance also show negative correlations, but they are much weaker. Organizational commitment, on the other hand, has a negative correlation of 0.528, as you can see in the graph, which is strong but still needs a further investigation for any variability through qualitative means. In the further slide, we are talking about the regression model visualization. In this table, we visualize the regression coefficients of all the predictors we used. The intercept here is 5.741, which we calculated using the Python programming through ChatGPT 4.0. The strongest predictor is job satisfaction with a coefficient of negative 0.44. Organizational commitment has the second negative coefficient of negative 0.35, while managerial support has smaller negative effect, whereas the work-life balance has a positive coefficient of 0.193. This visualization, all in all, tells us and it helps us understand the weight of each factor in predicting the turnover intention of the employees. Next, Cedric Brooks is going to take us through the interpretation and implications.
Yes, hi, Cedric Brooks. On the interpretation and implications, recommendation, job satisfaction is the key for intentions. Enhancing job satisfaction, career planning, recognition, role clarity. Organization commitment may reflect markability but reduce turnover. Strengthen managerial support, leadership, training, mentors needed to internal career growth opportunity. Work-life balance shows a slight positive coefficient. Predicting model useful for identifying at-risk employees. Promoting work-life balancing, flexible schedule, willingness programs. Reassessing commitment and strategy, quantitative interview, and mobility alignment. These are recommendations for interpretation of implications. The next slide will continue with results in key findings. One of the key findings, what we noticed in doing our research is that job satisfaction is the #1 predictor of employee turnover intentions. Organization commitment strongly reduce turnover risks. Managerial support and work-life balance have a smaller but meaningful impact. Our predictive model closely match real employee response. R square equals 0.34. targeting HR interventions such as career development, leadership training, and flexibility scheduling can reduce turnover intention across organizations. The next slide we discuss the potential impact of interventions. A 1 point increase of job satisfaction is associated with 0.44 decrease in turnover intention, according to the regression model. Managerial support and work-life balance play a key role in boosting employee morale. Hear what I said? Key role in boosting employee morale is managerial support. Addressing and commenting paradox help reduce, helps retain high potential employees. Remember, people, addressing and commenting on helping people, the paradox, potential employees. So it's important that we comment and inspire people as we become leaders to inspire people, motivate people. Targeting intervention and could shift intentions across downward, thereby reducing turnover risk. So we learned that in reducing turnover risk by motivating and as managers have a greater support by balancing life. It's the key role of boosting employee morale. So the manager, by their influence, can boost morale. This would influence the stats that we learned throughout our studies. And you see job satisfaction, you see 3.9 to 2 point turnover intention, 2.88. And then you see a scale, we got 4.9 to 2.44, the turnover rate, job satisfaction to turnover rate. The next slide shall produce study limitation. Non-random sampling limit generalized ability. Non-democratic data collected, cross-sectional data limit causal inferences. Self-reporting responses may include bias. Model explains only 33.9% of turnover variances. Next slide, please. Future research direction. Use probability sampling methods. Conduct longitude studies. Explore additional prediction and machine learning models. Include demographic contextual variables. Incorporate quantitative methods. As we come to a conclusion,
We're going to turn it over to Ramneet.
So at the end, we are happy to discuss and conclude our project. To conclude, the predictive analytics, they provide actionable insights for strategic HR management. For job satisfaction is the most influential factor for reducing employee turnover. Organizational commitment, it warrants deeper exploration, particularly in terms of how the employees they interact with their leaders, and they discuss about their marketability and any internal mobility options they have in the organization. Our proposed interventions can help transform a workplace culture and reduce costly turnover. For the future research, we would recommend, and if we have to do this project again, we should expand to include more demographic diversity in our samples and also conduct longitudinal data tracking, which changes over time. On the right-hand side, you can see a picture of the correlation metrics of the key survey constructs, which was already discussed. It just suggests that the analysis suggests prioritizing initiatives that enhance the job satisfaction while carefully examining organizational commitment dynamics to effectively manage and reduce the turnover intention of the employees. In the next slide, we have all the references which we used in our research paper. They have already been discussed. The important ones have been discussed. So the next slide, we are just gonna have our contacts listed, and you can email us any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that being said, we do thank you for joining us. We also added to our survey that we would do a raffle for a gift card for those who participated, who let us know that they actually completed the survey. And so we will be doing the raffle live on a video. So be sure to check that out. Until next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.